I have a vast network of some of the top producing agents all across the United States. And it's my goal to bring you guys a new agent every 2 weeks to show you guys how to build your business. There are so many, one of the things that I've loved in real estate is how many different ways you can grow your business. Some of the best strategies from all across the US, we're bringing to you on these calls every 2 weeks. Just a reminder, the person who invited you after this, make sure you reach out, thank them. And if you want the recording, that is the person you're going to get it from. So you guys will see, I just got my new place here in beautiful Sarasota. So that is not a green screen. That is my new background. I'm super excited for it. And I'm really excited because we're bringing you here today, Amber, who every single year does over 200 transactions, and over 100 of them come from working with different builders and a different strategy that she gets from her listings. And what I wanted to do today is bring on Amber and share with her a little bit about her story in real estate. And first of all, Amber, why don't you tell people, how did you get into working with all these builders and all these different individuals?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on today. My name is Amber Harvalias. I am in Burlington, North Carolina. And I actually started in real estate with a builder in Columbus, Ohio. Okay. So I honestly learned like the other side of real estate first and started off in new construction. And then when I jumped in general brokerage, I said, there is one hell of an opportunity here locally, especially to work with smaller local builders, to not only help me build my business, but to make my business consistent, and then also to feed buyers to my buyer's agent. And I think that's one of the biggest keys when you start either a real estate business or when you have one established, is how do I build consistent leads? How do I continue a consistent presence? And how do I also grow my business in a way that's a little bit easier, because you're dealing with new construction and or renovated homes, and it's not taking up as much of your time because you're not negotiating repair requests. It's the whole concept of working smarter, not harder, but also doing something you love that gives back to your team as well.
You know, and I think, like you were saying too, you started off in Columbus, and that's kind of all you knew, right? You started off with that builder, and then going into a new place and getting into getting in the back pockets and starting working with some of these builders. What are some of those ways that you came into a new market and immediately started being able to work with some of these individuals?
So I came into a market where I knew absolutely no one. I was from Ohio. Everybody could tell I was from Ohio. I just worked and lived at a different speed of life, but I also had a lot of knowledge. When you are born into a building world in the middle of 08, 09, you learn skill set real quick, and you also learn how to work. It's not like the market we just came out of or entering back into, as we're starting to see it here locally now. But like I really learned the basics of lead generation, I had to make relationships because I didn't have any relationships, so oftentimes I would just go visit the builders and create relationships with them, even if I didn't have clients, just so they knew a face and a name and I stood out and looked different. I'm not just an agent going to go show a house because I have a buyer. I met with the on-site agent, took them snacks, created a relationship, figured out what inventory they had in the MLS, but also what inventory did they have coming up. And I don't want to say it's almost like creating pocket listings, but essentially it's like almost creating like off-market inventory. So when you do have buyers, you can say, hey, I know you don't know, or you don't see anything on the market right now, but I do know this builder has this coming up and we potentially could go ahead and go under contract. So I would start taking like photos, getting information. I would literally, old school, we do everything print. I would literally have like a folder for every single builder in my files, and it would be something that I could whip out instantly. And because I started creating those relationships with those on-site agents, if there were buyers that came unrepresented that they felt like needed their own representation, and or if there were houses that needed to be sold before somebody could buy in their community, like they started giving me leads. So all of a sudden it became a source of lead generation. Well, that's fabulous when you're working with these huge builders and you can create those relationships. But what I did was try to take it a level deeper and reach out, like, who are the local builders that need exposure? Now that we're not in a world of word of mouth, now that we have people coming in from all areas, that sign in the yard is not going to help them sell their house, or local networking is not going to help them sell their house. So how do I take the platform of social media and use it as a value tool to these local builders and help them truly build their business up and almost be like a partnership with them? So there's a few local builders that I took that literally used to just put a sign in the yard and maybe host an open house or be on the tour of homes
Right.
and create their synergy that way and say, hey, we have, 12 to 15,000 followers on our social media. We're going to do sponsored ads. I would love to list the house. Here are the programs I have for you. And, a lot of the local smaller builders don't even like partner with lenders. They're doing stuff like the mom and pop way. So for me to be able to bring like knowledge and from like the big builders and say, here's what they're doing to win clients. It was like, what they're almost like, why are you helping me? But thank you at the same time, so you lead with value. And then all of a sudden you have 3 or 4 listings a month at a good price point that are easy to sell, that you can host open houses at and get buyers from, that you're getting lots of leads from, listing leads too, because a lot of people want to sell their house to move to a new construction home, so it's a snowball effect.
So I'm just curious. So something that you said too, a little bit in the beginning of what you were talking about is having that folder full of all those almost like those pocket listings and those things that the builders that were coming soon. Is that something that you would actively advertise or talk to your buyers as they were reaching out to you, or you're reaching out to them as leads about this, what you do differently and what you have?
Yeah. So in the back of my mind, whenever I was like on a buyer consultation, they're telling me I want a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath house in this school district. I knew there was nothing on the market, but I knew this builder had something coming up, so it becomes like a huge value add to your client and it just shows you like you are serious about what you're doing. If you already have this information to be able to give to your buyers that they can't readily get from anybody else, they will work with you and feel committed to you because you're going above and beyond.
I love that. I love that. And then something that you were talking about too is being able to provide information to the local builders that the big builders were doing. Did you have a list or anything specific that you would normally go over with them that those smaller local builders normally didn't know that you knew, man, if I keep providing them this kind of value, it's going to make a big difference?
Well, I think a lot of the local builders don't realize like lenders will offer you incentives as a builder to win your business over, to be an exclusive lender in that community that will lure people in, especially in a market, that's highly competitive. If you're able to offer somebody a $2,500 closing concession that looks like from the builder, but really it's built in and offered as something exclusive from the lender, like that's a huge just something that you can advertise to bring people in the door. So we would always team them up with local lenders to offer incentives to their clients. And then also we know too, like it's going to be a smooth transaction because this lender knows our product. They know that we can deliver things on time. You just create a business entity within a business entity, and it's a win-win for everybody. And then other things that we do is, these builders who are doing thousands of houses a month, they have great processes to learn from. So what does the process of a new homeowner's orientation look like? A drywall walkthrough, a final walkthrough, warranty stuff, so you as a small builder are not being bombarded by warranty stuff after closing. What are things that we can do to help streamline your process, but also to help you grow your business and scale your business to grow, so we're not just doing, you did 30 houses last year. I want you to be able to do 60 next year. Like, how do we make that come to life? And I think sometimes, a huge value add too, is we sit down and talk to them about where are you at right now? Where do you want to go? If you want to sell 60 houses next year, let us help you find the land, so that becomes another way for us to generate business internally is, we're doing golden letters to landowners. We're working with our network that we now have established to find them land. And again, it just gets us deeper threaded with them. When we're able to help them grow their business, we're providing them value back, but it's a win-win for us too. Like we're getting a lot of business off of representing them.
So let's say there's an agent on here right now that says, man, Amber, this sounds like an amazing idea that I want to go do. What do you believe are some of the first steps for the agents to go ahead and start doing to get started in this process?
I think you got to go out and meet your builders, reach out to those drive through neighborhoods or reach out to builders that are either custom home builders, or, they're building, the builders we work with build, 20 to 60 houses a year. But if you can get 20 to 60 listings, take them to lunch, let them know this is what's going on in the market. the value I provide to them and my investors is I send out a monthly update, sometimes bi-weekly if the market's moving quickly, and let them know, like, this is what active inventory looks like. Here's what we're seeing come in offers or due diligence fees. Here's what list price to sales price ratio looks like. Here's the amount of showings we're seeing per listing. So they're constantly aware of what our market looks like, so they can also help plan, like, what price point is their opportunity in. And I've went to some builders that are maybe at the $200,000 to $400,000 price point and saying, that's great, build your market there, but there's a huge opportunity in this area, knowing what we know is coming, that you need to take advantage of. So let's start looking at land there. So we help them strategize too.
I think a big part of this too is understanding that, look, guys, just because they're builders doesn't mean they have it all put together. Doesn't mean they have it all figured out. It's realizing that, man, there's so much value as an expert real estate agent that we can provide back to the agents. Is that about right, Amber?
1,000%. Builders build houses. They don't know real estate. So if you can be that value add of being like the expert real estate advisor for them, you really build your net worth together alongside them, to be very transparent, and it becomes a great partnership, but it's a partnership you have to constantly nurture. It's one that you have to constantly add value to, because the more visibility you give that builder, the more opportunities that come to them. So, like, how do you stay deeply connected and loyal to one another? And a lot of that comes in, quarterly meetings, talking about goals, what's your future growth, what's our future growth, and how do we grow together?
Yeah. I think this is something great. My ninth grade teacher would always tell me this. She's like, never assume, because when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. Don't assume they know everything about a real estate market, because then their homes aren't going to sell great. And then you're going to be sitting there looking like, I could have listed that home. Don't assume they know everything about the market. Don't assume they know everything about what you were saying, the warranty and the back end process. So here's something I have a question for you on, Amber. Do you have like a checklist of things that you go over with the builders? Like, man, if it's a local builder, I want to make sure they have this, and this, or like some differentiating factors for themselves.
Not necessarily like written down. It's something that, when I meet with local builders, I almost go in like a consult.
Yeah.
And say, tell me this about your business. What are you doing here? What are you doing there? Because I want them to know, like, I have experience in a bigger world besides general brokerage.
Yeah.
And I'm here to, like, help you in your life. I'm not here to just help you sell homes. Like, I want to help you sell 60 homes, but in a way that feels good and is scalable and not destruction, because we all know a builder can get very reckless if they don't have systems to scale, especially in a world where labor force is hard. I had a conversation with a builder that we work with and actually partner with. And that's another thing, there are many opportunities that will come your way, so there are a few of my builders that I realized had some liquidity issues. And I said, okay, I know we need inventory at this price point. What I would love to do, if you're not able to, is to become a partner with you, and we get the listings. Obviously we're getting the buyers, but let's split the profit 50-50. So we've now become like a silent investor with these builders and started like building houses alongside of them with them.
So guys, this process is to help you. You've done over 100 listings almost every single year since you started doing this, right? Over 100 more listings. So guys, the great part about this too is it's not stopping what you're already doing. It's adding another way for you guys to get more listings. So Amber, I'm going to have an ask of you while we're on here. And it's also a better ask because there's all 144 people here probably wanting it as well. Could you make a checklist of some of the things that you go over with some of these local buyers that we can share with individuals as well? So that way, after this, you guys can all receive a checklist of some different ways that you guys can reach out to your buyers or reach out to the builders and be like, do you guys have X, Y, Z? I think that would be fantastic. And a question that we guys have here, and guys, just so you know, put your questions in the chat. We'll get to them as soon as we can. And I cannot promise we'll get to all of them, but the quicker you get your question in the chat, the more likely it is that we'll be able to get to it. So Crystal had a question here. How are you finding the builders?
So the first thing I would do is just go through some communities that you see some new construction going on, but every area should have a builders association. Join the builders association, start going to the events and start networking with them, or go into like the state LLC look up like just general builders and see what populates there. Now, obviously there's like ethical things involved. You can't cross signs, but the ones that don't have any representation, by all means, reach out to them.
Yeah. A question that I would have too is if I'm going up to have a conversation with any of these builders, what does that first conversation look like? What are some of those ways that I can show them my interest and also provide value?
Well, originally, I'm going to back up because I
All
want
right.
to reach people that are like new agents, and how do we start the relationship, and then people that are maybe more established agents.
All right.
When I was
Good
a
call.
new agent, I literally would just say, hey, I would love to come tour your properties. Let me take some pictures. This is before we had like video phones. I'm showing my age, but like flip phones where we T9 text,
Yeah,
so
right.
not my pretend, but like my camera, my separate camera away from my cell phone, and like take pictures and really like help them market their properties. And I did have Facebook before anybody really, knew to use Facebook in real estate. And I would
Right.
post stuff on there, but then I would also just get the information sheet. So back then it was definitely more initial agent relationship based connecting.
Mm.
As I became more established, it was more of, me reaching out, and they'd be like, well, why is Amber Harvalias calling me? And I would, sit them down and say, I just want to let you know, I know we've never done business together, but I have sold 6 or 7 of your houses in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I would love to set up a time to meet with you. I come from a background of new construction, and I think we could really work together and provide one another value and make this a win-win. Is this something you'd be interested in doing? And you have to be bold about it. It's no different than asking for normal business. You have to, just be bold enough to reach out. But, as they see your name come across contracts to them, they know who you are.
So I think that'd be a great place to really take a look at too, is take a look at your past business, especially if you've been a seasoned agent before. Take a look at your past business, where you've helped people buy, where homes that you have sold, and start taking a look and be like, man, I've worked with XYZ construction or XYZ builders before, and start taking a look at where have I already built relationships without even knowing it.
Yeah,
right? So go back into the people you've worked with in the past and start there.
absolutely.
And then, like you said too, especially the newer agents, being able to bring out your phone. We never said any. If you guys have came to any of these trainings, there's always a little bit of work involved. If anything, there's going to be a lot of work involved. It's never easy the way that you can do things, but we will try and break it down and make it simple. Get out your phone, go over there and help them promote on social media. Social media is a tool that we can all utilize.
Yeah, we have a couple of local agents on each side of us that literally take a videographer out to the neighborhoods and video, it's so much better than the builders are doing, like a video tour of the amenities of the neighborhoods, a video tour of one of the models, and post it on your social media and get buyers.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many ways to use the builders, even if it's not a listing of your own. I've never had a builder tell me, no, you can't do this. Create a landing page for each one of those neighborhoods. We just started new construction homes in Alamance County, a Facebook page where we're taking every builder's houses and we're going out and touring them on our own and posting them to that page. Well, all of a sudden, you look like a local market expert in new construction, and you're going to get buyer. We've already gotten 2 buyer leads that way. We usually they need to sell too, but also it gets attention. And I've had a builder reach out, hey, can you share this on your page? Absolutely. Can we get your listings? It becomes a thing. You're providing value and doing all the things, not expecting anything in return, and the business is going to come.
I love what you said there too, because I believe a big thing that people are looking to do, especially in real estate, is figure out, how do I create a community? How do I create a community of people who are looking for a certain thing? So can you dive a little bit deeper in what you mean by creating those Facebook pages and those community pages? Because I want to make that very clear, because I see that as a big way, because I don't know about you guys, but I can get grouped out from time to time. Everybody and their brother's trying to add me to a group, and in 2 weeks, they're not even using that group anymore. Right.
Yeah.
And I believe these are ways that you can build a substantial way to create a community within your community that you can continue to add value to. So can you dive a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah, what made us start to do this is we were sitting here with my real estate team back in early January, and we were saying there's so many new construction neighborhoods out there that are not being marketed. And we went to the new home guide, which I knew from new construction is where all the builders totally do all their marketing. And we saw, just to give you a perspective, we have currently 191 homes active in our MLS system. We saw on the new home guide, when we searched by Alamance County, there were 400 new construction homes available that are not in our MLS system. So we were like, holy crap. That's twice the inventory we have. that's not being marketed anywhere besides the new home guide and on these individual builders' websites. So we said, there is such a need. We know people already follow us on social media. We have to create our own social media business page that is nothing but new construction in Alamance County, and post every single builder on there and get, and really we were doing it to like educate ourselves, educate other buyers agents as a way of potentially recruiting, and then also get business but give the builders visibility.
Yeah. So let me, first off, for the people that are out there, do you need to ask permission to be able to post those new builders stuff on your Facebook page?
We do. Yes.
Yes.
I feel like every state's probably a little bit different, but yes, you do.
I just want to be clear, just so some people are like, this is a great idea. And they start going posting for everyone. I'm like, yeah, let's back it up a little bit and make sure that we get some of these little things that can make the big difference. So yes, making sure that you ask permission, but just right there, can you go, I want you to say that again, because what you said is there are almost double the amount of new home constructions, houses out there than there are listings and available out there for you.
Yeah. There were 400 homes, new construction homes available that were not being put in the MLS system.
So we have a good question. Yeah, go ahead.
We came from a market they didn't have to put them in the MLS to sell them.
Yeah.
And they were keeping obviously more profitable or making up for the cost of supplies by not using agents.
Yeah. So then we had a question here that there's a builder in their area that only works with Zillow and refuses to work with buyer agents. How do you go about working with an individual like that? Or do you?
I mean, I think you ask them the questions always, because sometimes they just have this stubbornness where they're not realistic of, I mean, are you costing yourself money? I would potentially show them the amount of money they're costing themselves. And maybe something I would show them is, this is great that you're not working with buyer's agents, but I'm here to tell you, 5 out of my last 6 new construction listings received 10 offers and ended up selling for $50,000 over asking. Are you getting $50,000 over asking?
Well, I think it's also too, we have to understand who was the last buyer's agent that tried to work with them. Is this based on the bad buyer's agent that tried working with them? Or is this based on an expert that's trying to help them make more money? Like you said, too, if you could take a look at your past records of what you help buyers do and what you helped other individuals do, I think that can make a difference. And who knows, maybe their next thing will say, I only work with Amber, nobody else. You never know what's going to end up happening based on what they just did.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, then getting into this, do you have a permission form or something that authorization form created that they fill out or anything along those lines?
No, we already have. Have relationships with all the large builders around here locally. So I've asked their sales managers and their on-site agents, and they're like, share away. There's no like formal form that you would need to get. Maybe some of the smaller ones you would maybe want to have something in writing, but the bigger ones, the more the merrier for them. They're not really worried about exposure or crossing signs by any means. They get the big picture. The more views, the more activity, the more showings. It's a win-win.
I want to break this page down a little bit more, because I think a lot of times too, we make 1 or 2 posts and we expect the leads just to start flowing in, and maybe I'm doing something wrong. So what do you guys consistently do on that page? Maybe even beyond just making the simple post of a home every now and then.
Yep. So we just started it a month ago, and we've been posting like 2 new construction homes or new construction neighborhoods a week. We just started filming like micro content to be more focused on new construction. Like, so why do you need a buyer's agent to buy a new construction home? What are the steps of buying a new construction home? What's the benefit of buying a new construction versus an existing home? We've started posting like incentives that the local builders are running. And then we're just saying, hey, if you are interested in buying a new construction home, like reach out to us, because the process does look totally different. Even if you're 6 months to a year out, contact us too. So I think you give, but you also ask as well.
Let me ask you this, Amber, what am I not asking about the new construction process do you believe is really important to make this whole thing come together?
Nobody's asked, is there anything you do special for the builders? Like, do you reduce your commission?
Builders? Yeah.
Yeah. And it totally depends. I mean, some builders are okay paying us 6%. I'll drop it down to 5%. I don't have a problem with that, knowing that we have a long-term relationship with one another. So we'll do 2.5. Are there certain situations where we may do less? Absolutely, but it's not something we offer up right away. But we always have, I think the biggest thing is always having the conversation, is we're always here to help each other grow. And if that means you have goals next year of starting a new neighborhood in this area, I know it's my responsibility to find the land. If I find the land, you list all those homes with me, and vice versa. I think that's the biggest thing, is making sure you're always setting, in any relationship, always communicating at a high level consistently, and then also making sure you're always growing together, conveying each other's goals together, and making sure that you are always still feeling like it's a win-win.
So what is the name of your Facebook page? We had some people asking about the Facebook page.
My personal business page is At Home with the A Team. My personal is Amber Harvalias, Harvalias. The new construction one that we just started is, I think, new construction homes in Alamance County.
Well, I think just for you guys to know, when you create yours, make sure you label what area it's in. Don't make it new construction homes, Ohio, because that doesn't really say anything to an individual. Making sure that you label each one. And I think the biggest thing that I'm getting from this too is, don't assume builders have it all together. Don't assume that they have everything that they need to get forward. And don't assume because they said no buyer's agents that they really mean that. Chances are they had a bad experience with somebody else, and then you can reach out and really make a change in what they're doing. And guys, what I want to encourage you guys to do is make sure you get your questions in the chat. I want to make sure that we get to some of your questions before we continue to move on here. But Amber, something I want to ask as well is, so when you figured out that there were 400 homes from the new construction side, what are you doing to convey that to the buyers that are already into your past CRM, your past sphere, and everybody that's in there?
So what I literally did was looked at all my buyer's agents, and I said, go to your buyer pipeline and look at all your buyer needs, and then start matching it up with some of these new construction homes. What we've also done to help the local builders is really sat down and looked at, like, where are there gaps in our current inventory, and where are our buyer needs? Like, we have 250 buyers that are ready to go to buy a house. What are they really looking for that's not available? Okay, well, if we can get a builder, even if the profitability is lower, if we can get a builder to start building houses 300,000 and under in these certain areas, and knowing that just our team has 30 buyers for those, we could even pre-sell them, for goodness sake. It's constantly stopping and evaluating where you're at and where there are gaps in our local real estate inventory, and then teaming up or reaching out to the builders that maybe build houses like that and meeting them where they're at too. So not only do we go in our pipeline, but it was also a way for us to sit down and evaluate our pipeline of where is their inventory missing, and how do we go find it or partner with people to find it.
Now, what tools do you use to help find the development land?
Oh, we live in the GIS system. I mean, that's, obviously you can find on market stuff, but the valuable stuff is usually off market. And I think the biggest thing is you have to create relationships with your land guys and your soil scientists, because they will bring you land. People reach out to them because they're known in our little neighborhood of knowing land, figuring out, the topography. Does it perk? Does it not perk? Is it city? They're dealing with it all the time. Go to them and say, hey, I have builders looking for land. What do you have coming up? So now they just send me, hey, Amber, I just, figured out these 7 lots in Southern Alamance. They all perk for 3 to 4 bedrooms. So like bringing land deals to us now.
Yeah.
But literally we'll get in the GIS and send golden letters to people. I have people looking for land. They're paying X amount per acre. Are you interested in selling?
This is something just for my own knowledge too. I think it might help some people. How do you get relationship with soil scientists? Because you said like big relationship with soil scientists, and I've never heard somebody say that before. Now you just got my attention here.
Yeah. Well, I would Google who the soil scientists are in your area, but if
probably have to do that. Yeah.
I bought land. Land, and I'm like, okay, I got to figure out, like, I was going to build on it. I have to figure out, like, where's it going to perk? Where can I set my house? So I reached out to my survey guy, and he said, you need to contact this guy. So I did, and learned so much about land. And that's another world. Land development, finding land, the density factor of it, the profitability factor of it. It's a whole separate world. I had to learn it. So I created relationships with him. I bought another large parcel of land that had a house on it. Again, used my soil guy. So now I just go to him. Do you have any land? I have builders looking, and he just brings the business to us.
My database feels incomplete because I don't got a soil guy. Now I got to find one. I got to find my soil guy. But we had somebody on here asking. They're not cut like us. No, I didn't think so. I didn't quite think. And then we had somebody else asking here, what is a GIS? What exactly is
So it
GIS?
should be linked into your tax card system. The GIS is like the mapping system that shows you every single parcel, but there's lots of layers on that. Like our GIS has, topography, school districts, does it have a well and septic on it already? It shows you what type of dirt. It's something the soil scientists use heavily to determine, is this soil suitable for building or a well and septic if it's in the county. You obviously don't have to know all that stuff. Geographic information system. Thank you, Martha. I didn't know that. I just call it the GIS.
And then what are some of the ways
Did
that
you
you're
talk about
What's up?
investors too?
Yeah,
Investor.
let's do it. Let's
Kind
go.
of
Let's dive into that.
Yeah.
Yes, let's make a transition now, because that was something else that you wanted to talk about as well, is working with your investors.
Investors to us here locally are bridging the gap of new construction and the lack of inventory. And the reason why I say that is building costs have went up so much. It's so hard to build affordable homes, 350 and under. So I literally started working with investors in 2008 when there were so many foreclosures. When I worked in my smaller brokerage, 2 or 3 of the agents there actually did lots of foreclosure listings. So I was like, let me please go host an open house at this nasty house just to get buyer leads. But what it did is it exposed me to a lot of investors, and I started my investor side of my business day one, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
And again, that relationship that I've created with them is so much value add. We help them find properties. So we get a sale on the buy side of things. They then renovate and flip them, and then we relist them. So that's 2 listings that I usually get within a 3 to 6 month time frame. And we get so many buyers off of those as well, because they're fixed up, they're pretty, and they're affordable. Most of my investors are flipping houses 350 and under, which is impossible to build in today's world. But it's the lack of inventory that we truly need in our MLS system. The inventory at that price point is 2 to 3 weeks of inventory supply here. And it's been that way for 2 or 3 years. So most of the time when we get one of those listings, we're getting 38 to 50 showings and 10 offers. But again, we have several of these investors, I would say probably 5 strong ones, that we constantly are getting inventory from on a monthly basis that helps us build a consistent business. And how you find those people?
There you go.
Again, go to your register of deeds and look at the closings for the last 30 to 60 days and see who you see multiple closings with.
Wow.
Look at the names that show up over and over and over again, and help them build a brand. And I think that's one thing that we're just now getting into with our investors, is a lot of our investors. We have one investor who has a TV show. We have another investor who has branded themselves on, they stage every single house to the nines. Make sure every one of your investors is treating their business as a business, and help them build a brand just how you have built a brand. And that's kind of the value add that we're giving to a lot of our investors, as you're doing the thing. You have 88. We have one investor we started working with 7 years ago, and she has 88 homes in her rental portfolio. We've flipped about 65 homes with her. And now she's starting a wholesale division. Well, that wholesale division helps me feed all my other investors too. So again, this business can be a snowball effect that helps you truly grow your business at such a high level that brings you listings, that brings you buyers, and makes your business consistent, where you're not having to pick up the phone and lead generate every day. Literally, I have an investor every week call me, I have this house ready, let's get it listed.
Yeah.
Look at the question.
And then we have a couple questions here for the investor side of things. Kids Computers, might forgot to change the name there, but Kids Computers asked, I have a couple of investors. I just don't know how to find the off-market properties. How do I find those?
So I'd first go down to the tax office, look at the foreclosures coming up there. There's this system that we use called REI Pro. REI Pro allows you to locate pre-foreclosures, high equity homes, absentee owners, vacant properties, and you can do tool or searches there and send out golden letters. Somebody else asked what a golden letter was. Yes. A golden letter is essentially like a call to action of, hey, I have a cash buyer that's looking to buy a home in your neighborhood. Please give me a call.
Yeah. Is there anything special that you put on that golden letter to make sure that they receive it and they open it or take action?
If it's a house we really want, we'll send it certified.
Yeah.
We send like bright pink or green or yellow, like neon envelopes.
Yeah.
We've sent golden envelopes before. We handwrite the outsides.
Yeah.
We make it, and I can share the letter with you guys. Like we make it seem personable and not like a blanketed thing when we send out. It's like directly to that person. It says that specific address. You know, you don't want it to look so blanketed. It seems unreal. We've had a few that we've sent out that literally say, here's the offer. Like I'll just send out a one-page thing. We're offering you $200,000 for this property. We're a cash buyer. We can close within 10 days. And that really gets people's attention, doing it that way as well. But you, and then find out who the wholesalers are. I honestly don't know how we've connected with so many wholesalers, but we have so many wholesalers that literally just send out like a massive text or a massive email, and we've sold some of their properties. And then it's gotten the attention of a few of our investors, and a few of our investors were like, I need to start wholesaling things. And I have a couple of investors that do better on wholesales than they do on flips.
Yeah. So here's something that came to my mind when you're talking about the letter and getting people to open it, right? Because that sometimes is the hardest thing, is getting people to open it and know that it's important for them. So here's something that we used in our mailing, and it was freaking gold. So we got this from Dan Kennedy. He calls it lumpy mail. And I'm telling you, our open rates went through the roof when we did this. Because when people get mail, whether it's like, no matter what the mail is, what do most people think it is? Bills or somebody coming to take their money, right? So everybody, like, it's one of people's least favorite things to do is open mail. So what we did is we figured out a way to figure out, like, how do we become different from everybody else? So we would go down to the dollar store, and I would get something heavy and like weird shaped. I would always go for those army men with parachutes. Right. And I would put that in everybody's mail that I wanted to open. And I am telling you, because what does everybody do with mail? They feel it, they look at it, bill, feel it, look at it, bill. This one, they feel it, it looks weird. They try and feel what's inside, they can't figure it out, look at it, they don't know what it is. Curiosity will get them. So what do? They open the mail. Whether using this strategy with the golden letter, I feel like that would work great, because it's already a little, the color stands out, and now they just, curiosity gets them, because it's not like what they normally get. I always go with the army man with the parachute, because it's weird shape. They try and look at it, they just can't figure it out. So they're going to
light.
Yes.
Love it. That's
that
brilliant. I mean, I would open that.
Yes. And then here was something that we want to talk, I wanted to touch on too really quick, as far as your past database as well. Here is something that we did that absolutely blew it away with our past clients as well. When you send something to them, again, I do lumpy mail all the time. I don't care if it's an army man once. I'll use like the jacks. You remember jacks as a kid? You throw the ball. I don't know. I guess we're a little bit older call. So everybody here knows jacks. But kids my age, they're like, what are jacks? Anyways, not the point of the call. But I would use those in calls. But what I would also put in there is I would put a scratch off. $1 scratch off in your mail is a game changer, guys. Why? Because you just gamified the most boring thing in the world for people. The most boring thing that most people hate to do is open mail. And what did you just do? You just gamified it. I'm telling you, if one of your past clients, one of the people that you want to reach out to, wins $5 on a $1 scratch off, you know what you just did to them? You just made them a winner. And a day where they come home, they had a boring day, went to the same job, did the same thing. They come to open up their mail where it's all bills. They open it up. You just gamified it and you made them a winner. Wow. I'm telling you, you get more people reaching out to you for that than, hey, just an update. Hey, it's your friendly realtor reaching out. But yes, the golden letter, like putting that one thing in there, that the lumpy mail is a game changer. You want to gamify your past clients. You want to gamify people you're reaching out to. A $1 scratch off. Yes, great for St. Patrick's Day coming up. St. Patrick's Day, send it out to everybody you know. Put that lumpy mail in there with the $1 scratch off, and I'm telling you, people will be reaching out. People have no choice but to be like, man, this was the coolest thing. You have somebody win $1 back. Guess what? You just made them a winner. And even more so for some people, you gave them a reason to leave the house. They might be bored sitting at home all day. Now they have to go around to the store and to go put that in there. You're giving people something to do, gamifying something that most people think is the most boring thing in the world.
But also it makes people commit to you when you do things like that. You know, it's top of mind, but it's also like, oh, they did this for me. What can I do for them? And how we really touch our past database at a high level right now is we have so many people looking for homes in specific neighborhoods that we've sold in, is like, I'm making them part of our business. Like, hey, we have somebody that wants to live in your neighborhood. Who do you know that wants to sell? So we try to get the listing first, but we also have buyers. And for whatever reason, and then we send them a nice gift and do things for them. It makes them like want to help us at such a high level that they start helping you without even asking in the future.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I know this lady wants to sell her house. Here's her number.
And I had somebody ask, how do you explain why it's in there? I don't even say a damn thing about why it's in there. I don't even touch on it. They're probably thinking the same thing. And you know what that curiosity might give them? That might grant you a call. Hey, why did you put an army man in here? It's happened, not too much. I'm not saying that's the main reason they'll reach out. But it has happened when they're like, why did you send this? Like, hey, well, did you read it? Here's what we could do. Don't say a dang thing about the army man or the jacks or whatever you decide to put in there. But that lumpy mail, I am telling you, most people will tell you mail is dead. They're just not doing it right.
Yeah.
Most people tell you email is dead. You're probably just not doing it enough. That's what I would tell you. But things like that,
Heavy on email.
What's up? Oh, you have me
We
on
just started going heavy on our email, and we have like a 55% open rate, but it is.
Who here's on my email campaign? Let me see a raise of hands just on the first page. You know if you're on my email campaign, don't you?
Right.
You know, whether you're opening them or not, you see my name in your inbox every single day. Every single day. And again, just think about like going to your past sphere too. Every time you figure out new property, new construction that's not on the market right now, guess what you can do? Reach out to everybody in your past sphere too. Send out emails to everybody as well. There's a lot of different ways that you guys can utilize this if you continue. But something that you were saying too is I thought it was an interesting way that I haven't heard to get investors going and see what name pops up the most, right? So can you go into a little bit more detail on that? I know you talked about it. And so see, now we got people asking to be on my email. See, that's all. I just want to warn you, Gina, I don't know if you're ready for our email. You say you're ready now. No, here. Just I guess put your email in the chat.
Set up the filter that goes directly into Nick's Gmail folder, and then you can go there and see it all the time.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. We would actually do that. This is just a little bit off topic. There, hey, Saroj, we got people asking to be in the email. Grab those babies up. But here's something that we would normally do is like, if I find somebody's like campaign that I want to learn more about, if I see an agent or somebody's like, wow, this looks really cool, I have a whole email dedicated to signing up for people's things and just receiving all the emails that they get. Why? Because chances are I'll copy those emails and paste them into my campaign, switch up a couple things. Look, there's nothing saying that I can't copy and paste, right? Rebecca, I see Rebecca laughing. Rebecca, I don't think they're ready. Do you think these people know what they're signing up for?
Just sign up. You're ready.
But I want to get back to Amber here because Amber, that's why we're all here today. Working with the investors. What are some of the other ways that you're working with your investors or things that you're doing differently for them to keep helping them generate business?
So we just partnered with TRIA, which is the Triangle Raleigh Real Estate Investors Association, and started a little satellite group here. So the third Thursday of every single month, we have a night from 6 to 8:30 that we host. We provide them dinner. We have a different topic, and we also focus on like a different area of the county to focus on. So like next week, we have the president of the Chamber of Commerce coming to talk about like all the businesses coming here. How many employees is that bringing? What's the income, and where do we have a gap in housing? And we just try to do like a different topic every single month to provide them value. But then we talk about the market. We've talked about them before, like, okay, in certain areas, what are the finishes or the things that you need to do to flip a house in a way that's the most profitable for you, but also is something that neighborhood values and appreciates. We had some investors coming into a lower price point neighborhood and doing the things that they would do in a luxury house and not getting the value back out of it. And I, boldly raised my hand saying, you don't have to do that. And by not doing so, you're going to make about 10% more money, so it's like slowing down sometimes and not assuming they know these things, but being bold enough and providing them the value so that you're treating their business just as you would treat their own. So now we have about 20 investors that come to this on a regular basis. There's usually one or two new. I have them set up on like an investors campaign email. I do an investors update of the market video every month. And then we constantly are bringing like local businesses or local business people in to provide them value and knowledge of our local area. That also then again helps my business too, because it shows them that like I'm serious about what I do. I treat it as a business. I'm helping other people build a business. I'm reliable, I'm resourceful, I'm knowledgeable, and now they're bringing us referrals as well. But it's just a great way. The investor who I've partnered with is my investor that has like 88 homes in her portfolio and is one of my top investors. She now does real estate coaching too for like new investors. So sometimes the topics are like, are you interested in investing in real estate, or you already are investing in real estate? But we also, like, the last 30 minutes, we tell people like, bring your deals. And oftentimes we'll like sell houses right there in that room off market. Like, who has some wholesale deals, who maybe has too much on their plate and can't flip this house. So it's just a great network where we all bring and provide value to one another.
Guys, so what I'm going to ask is, in a couple minutes here, we're going to ask you to unmute and ask your questions. What I first want to say is, Amber, thank you so much for coming on. We're not wrapping up yet. I just want to thank you before we get into the questions and make sure I get that done, because you've added a lot of value to my life, and I'm sure everybody else's. I'm on top of that too, guys. The person who invited you to this, make sure you reach out to them for the recording, and we're going to have some things that we're going to send you right here from this call as well. Maybe some of the sites that Amber talked about, the checklists that we talked about earlier on. And to me, the biggest thing that I'm really getting from all this is get out of our own way of assuming the builders, the investors have everything figured out. There's a lot of value as an expert real estate agent that we can add to them. What we need to do is ask. If we don't ASK, we don't GET. If we don't ask for their listings, we won't get their listings. If we don't ask to help them with buyers, we won't be able to get to help them with buyers. Go out there and make that ask and be ready to become the expert for some of these individuals as well. Amber, before we open it up to questions and they start coming out of nowhere, what else do you have to wrap up the investor, the builders, and really building that listing side of the business?
I would say, now more than ever, you have to go after the business and be confident in what you do, but come from contribution first. Become the expert, collect the data, study the data for a month or so, look at the trends, and then present it. Like, I've had investors that I didn't do this with before, and I started doing it, and they're like, this is the information they didn't know they needed. But it's the information that makes all the difference in the world for them to be confident in growing their businesses, or be confident in redirecting them to where they need to go to grow their business. It's just total clarity, and they become very committed and very loyal to you by doing so.
I love it. It's just leading from a place of value. And like you kept saying too, is just adding more value to them and helping them understand that what they're running as a business. Some builders might believe they have a business. On paper, they have a business, but they don't have the mindset of running it like a business. Same with investors. They might believe that they have a business until you start asking them some hard questions that they don't know the answers to. So help them run their business like a true business. I guarantee, we're using that word a lot, you'll get more business from it, right? But guys, I want to open up to questions. Feel free to unmute at this point. Questions, comments, biggest takeaways. I want people to unmute and be able to share what they were able to take away from this. Let's go to my man, Mike Russo. Mike, what do you got, Mike?
So I just want to add, when she was talking about, the soil scientists and the water people and all these people that are out there, like, for me, we can go to our, to the county, right? So I'm in Medina County. So I can go to Medina County, go to the sanitary engineers department, and you can go right to the desk. They actually have a spreadsheet that they'll print you with all of the people that do that. So all the soil people, all the land surveyors, the appraisers that they use, the septic system people, they have that, and it's public knowledge. So you can go to any county and get that. So it'll give you their name, phone number, and email address.
Man, I'm running up to Sarasota County. I'm going to get every soil scientist I know. I'm going to get them all. I'm just going to call them because I'm looking for a friend. No, that's great information, Mike. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Guys, what else you guys have? Feel free to unmute. Now is the time. I always say you can get your question answered in 5 minutes, or you can spend 5 months potentially trying to figure it out yourself. What question do you guys want to get answered here for us today? I'm going to go to my man. I'm going to go to Jeff next. I'll give Jeff a second to think of one. Tamara Simmons always joining us here. Tamara, what were some of your biggest takeaways from the call here today?
I actually love the Facebook page for the new construction in the different areas. That's brilliant. The other takeaway was, getting in with your builder boards.
Yeah.
Because there's no better way to network than with the ones that are doing it. So those two takeaways for me were Money.
Funny. I like it. Thank you for sharing, Tamara. And I had somebody else asking about the recording. Guys, the person who invited you will have the recording for you. If you want a copy of the recording, make sure you reach out to the person who invited you. I see my man Eric Eaton joining us. I always like talking to Eric. So Eric, why don't you tell us, do you have any questions or comments about today's call?
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Man, what a great call. It's just, it's incredible when you don't know what you don't know. I would say that one of the questions that I have is, and I mean, we're in a little bit of a different marketplace, but I'm sure everything is still applicable, is really kind of narrow or zeroing in on, whether you're dealing with builders that are selling condos or whether you're dealing with builders that are selling single family residential units, or whether you're zeroing in on builders that are building commercial. How do you go about deciding where you should really kind of focus your energies? What kind of stats or information are you using with respect to that?
I essentially do probably 80% of my business is residential single family. So that's solely what I focus on. A lot of the larger builders are the ones that are building the townhomes and condominiums. They have their own land people. They have their own infrastructure. They're harder for you to build a business alongside with. So it's typically smaller single family residential builders that you could do this with. I do feel like there's probably a need for this in the commercial world. But again, it's mostly these large commercial developers that have their own entity that helps them do all of these things. Not to say that you couldn't. I just think the path of least resistance is probably smaller single family builders.
So the mom and pop builders, as opposed to the big box or the big
Yes.
brand builders, so to speak.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. But if I do have huge land parcels that are not a fit for any of my builders, I surely take them to the big ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, there was a question here: is before you put in the time, energy, and effort into finding land, is there a contract or something that you get on paper saying that I will get the listings from finding this land and working with you?
I mean, technically I probably should, but I don't. I just roll with it and provide them so much value and do so much work. They're committed to me without having anything written on paper.
I think a big part of that too is who you work with. And like you said, more so the mom and pop and those smaller places, as opposed to the big conglomerates that their people are working with 10 agents already.
Yes.
Yep. Awesome. No, great questions, guys. We have time for one more question before we wrap it up here today.
I have a question.
Beautiful. There you go.
Hi. Thank you for all the information. I really appreciate it. I just had a question. Why the difference between setting up the group versus the page for the new construction homes?
I know that a business page I can do more promotion on.
Yeah.
Versus the Facebook group is just a group where we hang out. I want to treat this Facebook page as a business and not a group. Groups, I think, are kind of how you said, I don't need any more people asking me to be a part of a group. I want it to establish a business within a business of we're helping new construction builders be promoted.
And you're able to run ads. You're able to say, I can promote and boost your page as opposed to just putting it into a group. It allows you to run it like a business because you can boost from that page. You can run ads to that page. You can and there's a lot more things you can do to run that page like a business, right? I'll tell you what, guys, I'm staying away from groups for a little bit. If I'm going to put something together, I'm going to put that business page together if I want to run ads and be able to build it from there.
This fall, I'm going to post the Facebook following. We only started it 3 weeks ago, but we already have 175 followers and we haven't done any paid marketing. We've just started to post things here locally. We shared on our Facebook posts, but I would assume probably within the next 2 to 3 months, we'll probably have a few thousand people on there. It's just, I want it to look like something and not 2 or 3 posts before we start promoting it.
Absolutely. Amber, thank you so much for adding value to everybody here today. I know I got some great takeaways from it as well. And guys, just a reminder, the person who invited you will be the way that you guys can get the recording for this. And guys, and make sure that you thank them for bringing you here as well. This is how Amber's getting over 100 listings a year, utilizing processes just like this, over 200 completely for the entire year, and over 100 just by working with investors, builders, etc. Amber, thank you so much for joining us here today. And again, guys, thank the person who invited you. We do these every 2 weeks. One thing I can guarantee you is, yes, I will always have this much energy and I'll be hosting it and we'll be ready to go. And the second is we'll continue to bring on new ways for you guys to get more business, grow your business, and continue to work and collaborate here together. And again, Amber, thank you so much for joining us here today. Guys, let's crush it.
Thank you for having us. Thanks, Nick.